These are the notes to start our information on the progressive movement. Please look at the past and present questions. See if you can answer them by yourself first. Past question is, what policy did Roosevelt use in foreign relations? We talked about quite a bit about this with his Roosevelt Corollary and his Great White Fleet that he sent around the world. So look at that quick, and then answer our present question, what is a muckraker, which is one of your vocab words and you should be familiar with since you just took your quiz. Today, as we get into this, just follow along and pause as you need in order to take the notes, and then we'll come back and hit the rest of it when we come back tomorrow. So, our first part here is this whole concept of the progressive movement. There were several progressive presidents, started under Roosevelt and then Taft and then Wilson, who are all trying to make some pretty big changes. This is caused by the rapid urbanization, which we know is growth of cities, immigration, the movement of people to another location, especially America, and industrialization, which is this concept of the growth of factories and more products. And so all that stuff is going to really cause a lot of problems for the common person, the workers, the poor, those individuals. And so these are going to be people who want to change that through social, political, and economic changes. As you can kind of see in the picture right there, they have Roosevelt sitting in the background with his Secretary of Labor trying to squeeze this money out of the trusts, trying to break up these trusts that were causing such big problems for the poor and helping out these big businesses and making the rich richer and the poor poorer. Once you're done with this slide, go ahead and continue to the next slide. The progressive era has four main goals that we're going to look at here. The first part is something called social welfare, okay, that we are trying to give direct assistance to those people who really need it the most. And so this is our first and biggest goal from this progressive era. Some examples of groups that are going to work with this are like the YMCA, the Young Men's Christian Association, which are going to essentially provide opportunities for men to go and work out and also get other programs. Salvation Army, which gives out a ton of help, food, clothing, etc. And of course, that social gospel movement we looked at last unit, where they're talking about all of the different housing and other stuff that they're going to help with as well. So all of these things are created in order to try and give direct assistance to those who need it the most. And pause here to finish this slide and continue when you're ready. Our second of the progressive goals is moral improvement. The fact that some people believe that if you wanted to help the people, they had to change their lifestyle. It wasn't just enough to give them help. You also had to teach them how to fish, right? That's the mantra is that you can feed somebody for a day if you give them a fish, but if you teach them how to fish, they can take care of themselves for the rest of their lives. And so they said, let's improve our personal behavior. And the best example of this is a group called the Women's Christian Temperance Union, which we know temperance is talking about refraining from alcohol. And so this group is trying to cut back on alcoholism and help out people with those kind of addictions and problems. And as you can see in that pledge down there, it says, I solemnly promise God helping me to abstain from all distilled, fermented, and malt liquors, including wine, beer, and cider, and to employ all proper means to discourage the use of and traffic in the same. So they have their work cut out for them, and they eventually will make some pretty impressive progress, as we'll see once we get to the 18th Amendment. But we'll talk more about that later. But that is definitely a major part of this. I'm going to pause if you need to continue, or if you need to finish the slide, otherwise you can continue. Our third of the progressive goals is economic reform. There was a huge disparity between the businesses and the ordinary people. I mean, it was ridiculous to see how much money some people were making and how little money other people were making. And so there were people who wanted to bring this out and try and talk about this, like the socialists, people who encourage this idea of communism and more equality of the classes. Unions, of course, which are going to try and promote helping those working class people. And especially the muckrakers, which we'll talk about more tomorrow as we look at specific writers who are going to bring about a change in the atmosphere of what is okay and not okay. And so here you can see kind of Roosevelt raking this muck, this meat scandal, and trying to fix the problems that were brought about by things like the jungle, which we'll look at tomorrow. And so this economic reform is desperately needed in order to fix this disparity that happens under capitalism, where if you just let it go unchecked, the rich will become richer and the poor will become poorer. So that is our third of 4 progressive goals. I'll pause here until you get to the last one. And finally, our progressive goal number 4, foster efficiency. Now this seems a little weird. The first 3 we're all trying to help out people. Okay, give direct assistance, make them better people, all this kind of stuff. But this one is a little bit different. It says that we need to make things more efficient, trying to use science, trying to use technology to make the workplace, make society better. And so they're going to use things like the assembly line, which is used in order to try and speed things up, to make things easier for workers. Also scientific management, which tries to schedule out how to take the most appropriate breaks and how to get the most out of a way to run factories or run whatever they can, even farms and that kind of stuff. This idea of scientific management helps explain how to use that better. And so through this, they are going to definitely try and put all 4 of these goals, and we'll kind of see other examples throughout this unit of how these progressive goals are applied by Roosevelt, Taft, Wilson, and other progressives who are not in the White House. So this is the end of the notes for today. Pretty simple. Go ahead and finish your worksheet for homework tonight, and we will see you tomorrow.